just every day that I know my grandson is not here and I can't bring him back.
Blu Rolland's grandmother is speaking about losing the grandson she loved so dearly days after his mother pleaded guilty to her role in his murder.
It was just pure evil that they had to endure.
Karen Rolland is here talking about her loss and how Blu's sister is doing after suffering abuse and witnessing her younger brother's murder. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. The murder of Blu Rolland is heartbreaking. He should still be here. We told you last month that his mother's boyfriend, Nathan Bridges, pleaded guilty to murdering Blu. Bridges drowned Blu in a toilet in September of 2022. The details are horrific, and what makes it more tragic is the fact that Blu's mother knew what happened and helped cover up the crime by helping bury Blu's body under the floorboards of the home where they were living. Blu and his older sister were being abused, and Blu was murdered. Deputies in Lee County, Arkansas were called to the home in December of 2022 after receiving a call from the grandmother of Blu and his sister. Ashley Rolland's father was there and told deputies that his daughter had told him that Blu was dead inside the home. The affidavit says deputies located where Blu was reported to be and rendered aid if he was alive. Deputies located where Blu was reported to be and found newly nailed down boards. Deputies removed the boards and found disturbed earth underneath. Deputies removed the top layer of the earth and found a child's flip-flop shoes and a red and blue blanket. Removing the top layer of the earth released the pungent odor of decay. Ashley Rolland told detectives that Blu died on September 9th, 2022. Blu Rolland had angered her boyfriend, Nathan Bridges, by biting his finger when Bridges stuck it in Blu's mouth. Bridges took Blu to the bathroom and, as punishment, repeatedly placed Blu's head in the water-filled toilet until he drowned him. Nathan cut a hole in their wooden floor in the living room while Blu was in the bathroom with Bridges. When Bridges exited the bathroom, Rolland entered the bathroom and saw Blu struggling to breathe, and his body was limp. Ashley Rolland told detectives that Bridges burned Blu's sister, Taylor, by holding her head and upper torso under hot water to punish her for behavior issues. They had also cut off Taylor's hair and deprived her of food. I spoke with Karen Rolland, Blu and Taylor's grandmother, about the plea agreements prosecutors made with Ashley, the mother of Blu, and his sister Taylor.
I'm very disappointed. I'm feeling a lot of anger, anxiety, just like the system was unfair about it. I mean, you go from being charged with first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. That's the main one that really gets me, because I mean, you actually buried him under your house and the smell was ungodly. The guy that came out there, he said that he had to change his mask like 3 times because the scent kept coming through it. And there was no viewing of him because you can only imagine what it looked like. And that's something I'm going to witness, because everyone says I shouldn't put myself through it. But when you go to a funeral, you get to see the body. But I want this closure on it, kind of, because, I just want to know every detail. I want to know how he felt, what he went through, and I can only imagine. I mean, his kids were there at the time when it happened, and he told Ashley to take them into the room. And according to them, she just sat in the couch in the living room, and that they could hear his screams, "Help me, help me." And you can only imagine the pain that he felt going through such a process. And she didn't bust down the door. She didn't stop it. She allowed it to happen. And then I was told that when Taylor got burned, she tried to stop that, but he did continue, and that she kind of got burnt a little bit from it. But I would have picked up a heavy skillet or something and just started fighting him. Then that would have made him stop. I mean, there's no way. I just can't believe that something like that could have happened, that she didn't try to at least let him out the door. Or
Karen said she was not consulted about these plea agreements for Ashley or Nathan Bridges. She talked about how difficult it was to stand in court and to read her victim impact statement during Ashley's plea hearing.
when I said my statement, I got like one word out. And I asked the advocate lady, I said, can you please read this for me, because I was breaking down. And she says, no, I can't read it for you. So I tried to gather myself, but I couldn't. I was looking at her, and in my statement, I said, I mean, I treated you like you were family. I treated you like you were my daughter. And when I look at you now, I see my daughter, but then I see this person that I don't know that let this happen. I said, you got out of the marriage with my son because of problems. Why couldn't you get out of and make a phone call? She had a phone that could make phone calls. And she did not. The state asked her, why didn't you call your dad? Why didn't you pick up and call 911 while he was gone at times? She never did. I mean, you can allow a man to come in your life, children. I would love no one, except for my kids. If I had any man that's going to not accept them as their own. And for him to sit there and treat them like that. Uh, he was hung on a nail by his clothes and left him hanging there and would laugh at him. Um, then I heard that he was stuck up in the ceiling fan and let the blades hit him, you know, as punishment, like, well, what were they been doing so bad that you were being punished like that? It was just pure evil that they had to endure.
I asked Karen whether Ashley said anything, whether she even apologized for not protecting her little boy.
That's one thing she did do. Her first statement words were, she looked me directly in the eye, directly, and told me, she says, Karen, I know that you've always been there for the kids, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that you have them, that you have Taylor, and that I know that you will always take care of her. And I said, you dang straight, I will. And then she went on to talk about how Blue was such a kind-hearted little boy, and that he was quiet soul and loving and everything. But she didn't talk about Tyler. That really affected me, because she didn't say anything about apology for how she got abused, and how she just said that she failed as a parent, and that she knows that, and that she's guilty of that. And then it was short. But the whole time that she looked at me, she did cry. And she looked at me. And when they asked me, and the lawyer read my statement, I was like I was going to pass out, and they asked me, what did I want to sit down? I said, no, I don't want to sit down. I want to look her eye to eye, and I want her to know exactly how I feel, how she's affected my life. And I wish that I had brought Taylor, but Taylor just wanted to hug her mom, and she asked me to hug her mom while I was there, because as a kid you want to love your parents, and you never forget that feeling. So I don't think actually I really abused her and put her hands on her and spanked her, but she allowed it to happen. That's my problem. You're just as guilty whether you did it or not, because I would have took a gun and a bullet for my kids, and I would have sat there and let him just shoot me and shoot me.
Cases like this one go to show you that you have to take steps to keep yourself safe. Truthfinder.com is a website that can help you research the people that you meet each day. Truthfinder.com will give you a lot of information about a person, including past addresses and criminal history. Just put in a person's name and you will get past criminal records, traffic tickets, addresses, and the names of relatives. What's really great about Truthfinder, it will also give you the addresses of sex offenders who live in your neighborhood. If you want to try Truthfinder, I have a great deal for you. You can get 50% off of confidential background reports. Just log on to www.truthfinder.com/LCCrimeFix. Log on and start accessing information about almost anyone. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Blu was murdered in a horrific way, and he had also been abused. And so was Taylor. Karen talked about how Taylor is still struggling from the abuse.
She won't take a hot bath. It has to be literally cold, because if it's the least little bit warm, she still has the scars from the water where she was standing, and had blisters on her feet, and she couldn't walk. We had to pick her up and carry her to the bathroom at the hospital, and then they exercised with her, and it took the whole entire week. And so we had to get some house shoes that had a real thick cushion on the back so that she could finally start walking. And I recorded that and put it on Facebook so that people would actually know how she looked and how she was. And, her teacher from the Wynn School came, and she just sat and cried, because she said that wasn't her Taylor, and that, and just every day that I know my grandson is not here and I can't bring him back. And for them to drop some of the charges and not give them the full thing. I mean, what human does that? I would have said, no charges are dropped. You're going to get the full charges. You're at least getting life without no parole, or, that's the justice that I wanted. I don't want to hear that they're going to be up for parole one day.
Karen said when she picked up Taylor after Blu's body was discovered, she didn't even recognize her. That's how badly she had been treated.
She was 36 pounds when I picked her up. I mean, you could see her bones, and it was like when she first come to the door, I told him, I said, "This is not Taylor, this is Blu," because Blu was a real tiny little fella. And she said, "No, this is Taylor." And Taylor didn't recognize me. So when I picked her up, I could tell that she couldn't walk. So I immediately picked her up and put her in my arms. And then I told the officer, I said, "She's soaking wet with urine." And I said, "Well, I'm taking her to the emergency room." And he's like, "Ma'am, I understand you have all rights to." So he walked behind me, and then he got between his car and my car and made sure that we went away. But usually she's running to me and saying, "Hey, Mama." So then as I was driving down the road, first thing she asked for is, "Do you have something to drink, and do you have something to eat?" So I had saltine crackers, and I had a drink that was like apple juice or something in my car. And it took her a while because she had to take that. And then I says, "Taylor, do you know who I am?" And she says, "Yeah, you're Mama Karen." And I said, "Yeah, baby, I am." And then she asked for something else to drink, and I said, "Honey, I don't have any more." And then she says, "Mama, I'm sorry, but I just about eat all those crackers." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. You'll never have to start or hunger again." And when she got to the hospital, they went and got her McDonald's, because she would just absorb everything. She ate more than I've ever ate sitting down in one period. And they said she can order whenever she wants, whatever she wants. And I mean, she just could not get enough food. She just felt like she wasn't going to get any tomorrow food, you know. And it was just heartbreaking to see.
Thankfully, Taylor is getting therapy for what she has been through. And Karen said she wants the world to know what happened to Blu and Taylor so that people can learn from what had happened.
I want the whole world to know. I want it to everyone to know and be educated. Arkansas should not be able to have grandparents' rights. And I wished I knew the avenue to go. I would be a speaker and an advocate for that, because if they had given me grandparent rights, all I had was supervised, where I could supervise the visits with my son while he was there, because he wasn't allowed to take them off anywhere. And I always had to be with the kids supervised. So she said that because he has the rights that grandparents don't, so then I don't have any rights.
Horrible.
And I've even called the law at times, and they was like, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, you can't just get the kids because it has to be the father, even though you have the supervised. She has to approve that you can take them with you, and she has the right to say no, they can't go." So that just angers me.
Now, if what those children went through wasn't bad enough, to add insult to injury, Karen's friend had organized a GoFundMe to help her and Taylor following Blu's death. But Karen says that fundraiser made them ineligible for victims' compensation funds from the state that they could use.
The state Victims Act was supposed to give us up to $10,000, and because the money came from donations, then it was told that that was one of the things that threw us out of being able to get that money, because it was from donations. That money could go for, I've had to quit work because I can't function, because I worked a little bit, but it was just on my mind so much that I just couldn't function anymore. Every time I go into Walmart, I live in a small town, and everyone comes up to me and asks me, Taylor goes up to everyone and says, "Hi, what's your name?" "My name's Taylor Rolland, and my brother died," and she's telling everyone to just try to, to express her feelings, and everyone says she shouldn't just go around telling everyone and asking for hugs, but that's what she's needing. She's
Yeah, she
wanting
needs
just
love.
love, right?
I want to bring in Jonna Spilbor. Jonna, you and I talked about this case when Nathan Bridges pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 60 years. Now we have Ashley Rolland, Blu Rolland's mother, being sentenced to 40 years and pleading guilty to her role in Sweet Blu's murder. So 40 years, you kind of were disgusted by this case, as any human being would be. You didn't think 60 years was necessarily a harsh enough sentence. So how do you feel about mom, who should have been protecting her son, getting 40 years?
This case, I remember when we talked about it, it really viscerally got me in the gut. You too. Just thinking about what that poor boy went through in the moments before his death. I still feel 60 years is not enough for the perpetrator, the boyfriend, but mom getting 40 years. My concern with her was that there was some evidence that this monster who killed Blu was a batterer and an abuser, and that she was under some sort of, for lack of a better word, spell by him, so that you could be a smidge more forgiving for her. 20 years more forgiving, I guess, maybe, but it still, I think 40 years is a light sentence, given that she had opportunity to step in and save her child, allowed him to be buried under the floorboards, didn't say a word about it. Despite having opportunity to do so, it still gets me in the gut. At least she will be in jail long enough to not be a mother to anyone else. So I guess that is a saving grace.
And will be around 67 years old or so when she is released from prison. I mean, prison's hard. It's not an easy life. And, she is in there not only for the murder of Blu and not protecting him, but also for abusing his sister, who endured horrific abuse, and who, I mean, it is so sad, Jonna. That little girl endured horrible abuse. She witnessed her poor little brother being drowned in that toilet. I mean, this is a girl who will go through the rest of her life with these memories, these scars. And she was physically scarred as well because she was burned with hot water.
Right. And that breaks a person. And when you're that young, you hope that she'll be able to, with therapy and help, overcome. But I mean, come on, Angenette, when you need to be protected by the person who brought you into this world, and you're not, and you see that person as somebody who does not step up and protect you and do the things that a mother or a parent is supposed to do, that will stay with you for the rest of your life. And she lost a brother. So again, I think that the perpetrator should be behind bars for life or worse. But and mom, I'm grateful she did not get off scot-free, because again, and we've talked about this in other cases, you can have a sympathy factor for a mother who may herself be abused, or a mother who doesn't have resources, or a mother who is going through something mentally and is weak in that regard. We can have a twinge of sympathy. But this case really gets you in the gut, and I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for this mother. That's just me. But obviously somebody did, because she's not also going to jail for 60 years or longer.
And we're trying to get some more information about how this case was resolved in this way. Obviously, a trial, they didn't feel that they needed to take this to trial. But I think that Blue's grandmother would have liked to have seen a trial, because she feels that would have been a way to get justice and possibly a harsher sentence for the horrific way that Blue died, and for the abuse that his sister endured.
Yeah, and that only goes so far, right? So these people are going to be in jail, prison for decades, and that is a good thing. But sometimes when we see these opportunities, we have to be more forward thinking. How can we prevent this from happening to other children in the future? This little boy was 5, I believe. How do you go from somebody who's supposed to be grabbing your lunchbox and going to kindergarten to somebody who's being drowned in a toilet and buried under the floorboards, without anybody in your world being able to have the knowledge to stop it? We need to get more proactive and better at that. I don't want to cover any more dead children stories. So, if the lesson should be, yeah, let them rot in prison, great, but we need to do better before that becomes necessary.
No doubt. And Nathan Bridges will never get out of prison. I can safely say that. He will not. He will likely die in prison, and there's a good chance that Ashley Rowland will as well. Jonna Spilborn, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Angenette.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.